Morning guys, Chris from Fit to Nottingham Personal Training. Just a quick one here on carbohydrates. So carbs are the devil for most people, or as they believe. So I have two little checks that I do with all my clients around carbohydrates. First one is this area of body fat storage just here. Now if you store body fat here, that tells me how many carbohydrates you actually eat. And that area of the body then relates directly to fat storage underneath your scapula. So if you find you're getting a bit of back fat as well, that tells me something else. So let's deal with the first one, the hips first. So this area here tells me how many carbohydrates you eat. So when you've got an excess amount of carbohydrates in your diet, rice, potatoes, pasta, cakes, pastries, all the good stuff, all that kind of thing people love, you will store that fat on the hip just here. So that will all get stored in there. So what that produces is an excess amount of insulin in the body. The body then becomes resistant to that circulating insulin. And unfortunately, when you've got circulating insulin, it sits onto the hips. And the second part of that is if your body becomes resistant to the insulin. So when you kind of overburden your body with insulin over a longer period of time, the body kind of just gets used to it. It gets kind of resistant to it, so it can't deal with it in the same way it did when you first started eating it. So this is how weight creeps on over periods of time, because your diet doesn't change, but actually your body becomes resistant to your diet. So the second area of fat storage is behind the scapula. So if you're starting to store fat through your back, it means your body is becoming resistant to insulin. So this is one of the tricky parts of dieting, or dieting or nutrition. What we need to do is deal with the insulin problem first. So you're dealing with your carbohydrates first. So one of the first things to do is start to reduce your carbohydrate amount down. I'm not suggesting you get rid of them straight away because that will cause cravings and things off the bat, but actually start to reduce it down to 1 serving per day post-training. So if you're training at 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning, or if you're training at 4 or 5 o'clock at night, make sure you're eating them an hour after training. This is a time where the body is ready to deal with the insulin produced from carbohydrates. So just make sure you're getting them in post-workout once every time after you train. Now, if you're having them once a day, you train 3 days a week, you can still have them 3 days a week. It's called carb cycling. Very, very straightforward. And what we do is you should pop your carbohydrates in after your training sessions. This will mean the fat storage here will disappear very quickly because your body will become sensitive to insulin again. So it will start to use it and start to push it into the muscles instead of the fat stores. And the other part of it is that this area of your body here on your hips will start to reduce down very, very quickly as well. So that's my super simple carb solution. So